Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the next interview in our Innovation in Mining series. My name is Erica. On behalf of the Artemis Project, I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker, Artemis member Rena Rachar. And she is a coach, a trainer, and speaker. She's a very experienced professional with helping people sort of bring change from the inside out. And the topic that we're going to speak about today, as it relates to mining and innovation, is around the hidden X factor in safe mining operations. Since safety is such an important part of our jobs as mining leaders, we always like to bring new and innovative angles and ways to achieve safe mining operations. So welcome, Rena. We're so happy to have you and would love to hear your thoughts about the connection between this hidden X factor that you and I have talked about and the mining industry.
Thanks, Erica. It's so lovely to be here having this conversation with you. So, my specialty in my coaching is emotional intelligence. And there are definite links for sure between emotional intelligence competencies and safety in the workplace. And it's being quite studied right now. So, I'm really excited to have this chat with you. So,
Absolutely. So tell us about some of those connections.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the why is this so important to have emotional intelligence in a mining workplace? I'm sure some of our audience members might not see the connection instantly. We might not think of mining as a very emotional industry. Tell us
Yeah.
about those connections and why you feel that EI is such an important factor.
Yeah, I'm really excited actually about all of these connections. And I think whoever's watching this will sense the potential connection between these two. So we know, of course, mining is often characterized by hazardous work conditions. We know from the research that there is a link between emotional well-being in the workplace and occupational safety. So we'll get into what these links are. Some of them are direct, some of them are more indirect. We do know that teams who have emotional intelligence training, there is a substantial enhancement of safety practices. And that's why this type of training is now starting to be looked at by folks as a crucial step in this type of sector. So I think the first thing to talk about, there is a connection, there is an overlap between psychological safety and physical safety. So I'm sure many people watching are familiar with this phrase, that's this term that's being used a lot, psychological safety. So the connection there is, if we have emotionally intelligent teams, if we have emotionally intelligent leaders, what's going to happen in that workplace is there is psychological safety characterized by such things as, if I see something that's bothering me, I'm safe to speak up without terrible repercussions. Emotionally intelligent leaders are getting rid of ego. So they are looking at these things as challenge the ideas, not so much challenge me, not so much challenge my ego, challenge my ideas. This is how we're going to be better. If you see something, challenge an idea that's not working, challenge an idea that's not safe. So that's the first thing to mention, is that when they're working on emotional intelligence competencies, they're creating a psychologically safe space to speak up. I don't know if you have
So a
comments on that.
leader that's embracing this, just to make sure if I have this right, is going to be open to ideas for improvement. For example, with safety, if they had one of their people come to them and say, you know what, I have a concern about this, or I see a way to make it safer, they would be open to that if they had this element of emotional intelligence in their leadership.
That's right. And one of the reasons is because we don't take those things personally. We're not making it
Mhm.
be about us. We are not personally being challenged here. The idea or the behavior or the practice is being challenged. And we want that data. If we're emotionally intelligent leaders who care about our teams, we want, show me what I'm not seeing here, and I'm not going to take it personally.
Yeah, I love that because it means that we're more about the problem that we want to solve. We're more about a solution than we are about protecting ourselves. And I think there's a really interesting almost contrast here because some of the mining leaders that I've met, to them, safety really is personal. You know, they take it as a matter of great personal importance and integrity to say we need, let alone that it's, we'll get sued or it's not profitable to have unsafe mining operations. It's really important for us to take care of our people from a values perspective. And so from that point of view, their hearts really get involved, I would say, and they feel this deep sense of honor and responsibility. I've seen this in mining leaders, even if they don't exactly know where to start in how to actually take, safety as a value on the wall is so easy to say, but how do we actually get it into people's decision making, into the culture, into the actual reality of how things run day to day?
Yes. And I love that contrast you're pointing out, because there is a difference between taking something personally from an ego perspective and taking something to heart from a moral
Mm,
human perspective. And that's another hallmark of emotionally intelligent teams. Their teamwork goes up. They're watching out for each other because they care for one another, because they're seeing the dignity of my fellow human being, because empathy is one of the
mm.
competencies of emotional intelligence. So that's another way that safety is promoted and enhanced within emotionally intelligent teams, is because of that very thing. We're actually caring for the human aspect of it a little bit more. We're more aware of what's happening, human to human.
Yeah. I love that you use that word dignity. I mean, that really resonates with my experience as well of saying, everyone deserves safe work. No job is worth doing unsafely. And really looking to create that environment where people can speak up and challenge, a workplace condition or something that's going on if it isn't safe. So you were telling me a little bit before we started recording about the four different pillars or sections of emotional intelligence. And I'd love it if you wanted to maybe just tell us a little bit about maybe a few of those areas and how you see that they would be especially relevant to our audience, mining leaders who are really interested in assuring the safety of their mining operations. Maybe we start with decision making. I love that one. I think that's so, so important.
Yeah, I'll highlight those in a moment. And I wanted to also answer that question, because there are some other direct correlations between EI and safety. And emotionally intelligent folks handle stress better. Emotionally
Mm,
intelligent folks have better conversations, more mature, responsible conversations. They handle conflict better. They have more self control, even when provoked,
mm,
and they have access to their decision making capabilities. We know that in times of high stress and high anger, we lose IQ points. We know this from the research. And so when we are regulated, when folks know how to regulate themselves, they are giving themselves this really great gift of bringing the cortex, or the
mm,
executive functioning, back online. This is where rationale sits, language, analysis, decision making. We know testing is done when we regulate, we are able to make better decisions when writing tests, as an example. So, what do we want
mm,
in high stress, high stakes, potentially hazardous workplaces? We want people who care about one another, communicate effectively, handle their stress, and have access to sound decision making. We do better. Everyone does better. So, emotional intelligence speaks to all of these things. The four quadrants are self awareness, self management, social awareness, and social management. Self awareness is simply, what is going on for me emotionally? Can I accurately name it and specifically name it as it's going on? That is the simple and beautiful key that unlocks
mm.
the rest of these quadrants. Then we move to self regulation. That's where we, now what? Viktor Frankl says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. So instead of impulsive, reactive decisions, we now have thoughtful, slower, rational responses. We're making more choice instead of just acting on impulse. That's the regular
Mm.
piece. And that relates to that decision making that we talked about. And
I
then,
really like what you said about unlocking what we know already. I mean, so many mining companies are investing in these systems and processes and training and things, for safety or for many, many other things to improve their operations. Maybe um, getting people to use a new piece of technology or something. But then if we're in the moment and we're not doing what you're saying, like handling the stress, the pressure of the job or the emotions that can come up, if we're not effectively self-regulating, we're not tapping into what we know, and it's
that's
not going to be reflected in the actions that people make day to day. Okay, so emotional intelligence, high stress environment equals better decisions, more ability to regulate and work with stress, because face it, mining is often, a bit of a pressure filled environment. We want to make our production targets, and everybody wants to do good work and do it efficiently, and that can sometimes translate into some of that stress and pressure. So keep going. I love what you're sharing so far and how, when we have, this is why I think it's so true that this emotional intelligence and maybe this first pillar of mastery that you're talking about is how when we notice where we're at in the moment, that is the key to tapping into what we know and making better decisions. And when those decisions add up over 1,000 or 10,000 employees over many years, that's going to change the direction of the business.
Yes, that's right. I mean, we don't know what we don't know.
Mm,
We don't know how to manage what we don't know is there in the first place. So
yeah.
that first step is really bringing consciousness to this data. Emotions are just
Yeah.
data. They're neutral data. We're
Mm,
emotional creatures that think. That's what neuroscientists tell us. We're not thinking creatures that feel. We're feeling creatures that think. And so tapping into that part of our biology and turning the lights on and saying, oh, this is what's going on. This is what's making it what I'm making it mean. This is how I'm in my own way. Oh, this is how I was doing
mm,
something personally that's not personal at all. So the awareness is the first step. And then how do we manage our responses to all of this emotional data? And then all of that translates into the other two quadrants, social awareness, social management. If I can understand what's going on for me emotionally, my empathy shoots up. I have much more patience and understanding for you. And I can take better guesses on, oh, what might be going on for you over there. And then again, that caring for one another on a human level. And then the self management. How do I manage my interactions and my relationships, my challenging conversations, the uncomfortable things
mhm,
that we don't want to say out loud? How am I going to do that? How am I going to gather the courage to do that? So all of this is related and there's lots of overlap. And, I mean, mining, among many other industries, is people centric. So as we
mm.
work on our people competencies, everything just gets better.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I can imagine how, especially for an industry like mining right now that is really struggling to get enough people, enough talent to run the operations or to grow. Given we do have a talent shortage, I imagine that the types of workplaces that you're talking about, where people are collaborating and communicating more effectively, those are going to be better places to work and the types of places people are going to want to stick around and work for a long time instead of leaving, right, to get another
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, and research shows the same thing. Burnout goes down, stress goes down,
Mm,
turnover goes down because people are feeling safe, accepted, seen. And yeah, so there's so many links between EI training and just better workplaces that people want to be a part of, that aren't eager to leave anytime soon.
mm. Fantastic. Well, it sounds amazing, if you can help a whole mine or a whole company full of people advance their EI. No doubt this is a very personal path, right? Some people are maybe going to get it right away. Some people might take a little longer or need more support. Like, I would love to understand from your years of working with people in workplaces to improve their EI and realize better results in the workplace. What approaches or packages have you found are most effective to get people moving along? Because I can just imagine that everybody needs something a little different, but no doubt when you work with a company, you found some strategies or some approaches that work. What does that
Mhm.
look like to work with you?
I do love the two-pronged approach of group training, emotional intelligence training, and I work through all these quadrants. I have specific tools to help boost the competencies in these areas. And these are not massive time commitments either. I mean, 4 to 6 weeks is an approximate time frame that there's flexibility within that. I prefer to be in person talking about the people things, but I have found great success doing these things online as well. So being able to have access to a team to just be, again, turning the lights on, giving them tools and awareness and
Mm,
education, and then coupled with one-on-one follow-up coaching for folks who need more support, because we all come into our lives at a different baseline of emotional
mhm.
intelligence, the same
No
as
doubt.
IQ, the same as physical intelligence. We all have different baselines. And all of this, the great news is all of this is flexible and can grow. So some people are going to struggle more than others. Some people are going to, as you said, get it right away. And we all integrate our learning at different paces as well. So that can be tailored to a team who needs to work on which competency, and to have that coaching as a regular follow-up until you don't need it anymore. But
Mhm.
practice, because this is not a one and done. This is a practice. We are rewiring some behaviors and some thinking that have had us stuck. That all takes time, and to sort of have that supportive voice to be reminding people of the tools and to be getting them into practice. So that two-pronged approach of group training and then one-on-one coaching tends to work the best.
That's amazing. So you have not only the diagnostic, I guess, to get a snapshot of where people are at, but then you also have some processes and tools and support for them to move forward. And I can just imagine the benefit to the individuals as well. I mean, I'm just thinking that this you go to work and you learn something, and it can definitely go with you outside of work as well. I have no doubt that this helps people transform relationships in their community, maybe in their families as well. Like I'm curious what kind of feedback or maybe some kind of ideas of the impact that you've had with previous clients. No doubt you've got some neat stories about those
Yeah.
types of improvements.
Yeah, and I really love that you drew that correlation. I mean, how we do anything is how we do everything. And
Mm.
EI is transferable. This is the great news. If you get better at talking to your workmates, you're going to get better at talking to your wife and vice versa. And your kids, it all is transferable. So this is why this work is so exciting to me, because I get to sit there and watch people transform their lives, transform their professional and personal relationships, and just
Mm.
feel better. Who doesn't want to feel better? And I get to watch people as they do the work and they feel better in their lives. And as I always say, when we feel better, we do better, not toxic positivity. We're not always going to feel happy. But when we're feeling more in control of what's going on for us and we're responsibly dealing with that, and everything around us is improving and trust and respect are growing, we feel better. And then everything else
Wow.
is better. So,
So I love that we can circle right back to the beginning of our conversation where we said, safety is such an imperative, business wise and morally, human wise. And then this process also feels good, like it's enjoyable and
yes.
it's good for the bottom line. I mean, we have all of these other positive metrics. So it really does seem like this is an amazing key to provide some impact positively across the board, both on a human front
Yeah.
and on a business front. It's just so neat to hear the possibilities there.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I'm thinking about a client recently. The manager came to me for some coaching and I provided some group training. And the feedback I got from him, he said, my leadership skills, my improvements in my leadership skills have been noticed and appreciated by everyone around me, professionally and personally. And then he sent
Nice.
a bunch of his managers to me and has loved watching them put their new skills into practice. And he said, we are having easier times getting rid of the self-sabotaging behavior. We're having
Mm.
better conversations. Our hard conversations are going smoother and faster, right? Which frees up their time to do their actual work. And they are on the same page. They have shared language and they just have the tools now. And he said they are now one of their top growth branches in their industry, right? In their company, because they're having those conversations better. The one employee said, my boss doesn't blow up at me anymore, right? It's just getting
Mm.
better, which is then translating into productivity going up as well, which is another indirect benefit of EI training. There's tons of research on that as well.
That's terrific. Well, I mean, as an engineer, I'm so familiar with this sort of siloed thinking that we can sometimes have around like, well, there's the technical stuff and then there's the people stuff. And like they're two separate things. And what I hear you saying is just how very interconnected they are. And when we work on emotional intelligence, it has these positive effects all the way across the business.
It really does. Yeah.
So cool. Well, thank you so much, Rena, for being with us. I'd love to give you the last word. Anything else you want to say to our audience before we wrap up our talk today?
Yeah, thank you for that. I would just say to anyone out there whose curiosity is piqued, who might feel a little personally challenged to look at this innovative approach to safety, I would love to have a conversation with you. My work is evidence based. It is research backed. It's enlightening, and as we said, it really is enjoyable. Doesn't mean we won't have some hard conversations, but at the end of the day, it's enjoyable and it's fun. And so, if anyone is interested, yeah, I would love to get that conversation going.
All right, Rena, thank you so much. And yes, I'll leave it there. Thank you for explaining to us and sharing the many benefits of emotional intelligence, how it really is the hidden X factor in safe mining operations. It's been a pleasure to talk with you today.
Likewise, Erica, thank you. Bye.